So, hi everyone, welcome to today's session of IRMAN Talks. I'm sure everybody is very excited about our today's very unconventional topic of, cinema and social relevance. This just shows that, Irmans are there in all the fields possible and, making a significant contribution. Our today's speaker is Mr. Praveen Morchhale from PRM 12. He's a national award-winning film director. He's also a UNESCO Gandhi Medal winner. And he also dons the hats of a scriptwriter, film producer, and photographer. His key films are Barefoot to Goa, Walking with the Wind, and Widow of Silence. Moderator for today's session is Professor Vidyanand Jha from PRM 7. He's a self-proclaimed movie buff, a literary translator, and over and above, a Maithili poet. He has also done a course of film appreciation from FTI Pune. So we are in great company today. So let's hope to have a very riveting session here with Mr. Praveen and Professor Jha, where we will be discussing the aspects of, we'll be introducing Mr. Praveen's work and, talk about his life as a filmmaker, his art and craft of cinema, his views and experience of Indian cinema social responsibility versus the entertainment factor. And given that he doesn't have a structured presentation, so let's keep it engaging and, have the questions coming and hoping to have a great engaging session ahead. Over to you, Mr. Praveen and Professor Jha.
Thank you.
So, firstly, thanks to IRMAN Alumni Association, but more than that, thanks to Praveen himself, because he apparently chose me. I didn't know, or rather do not know why he chose me, but I'm very happy to be here. And basically, before I get into the talk, let me say something about PowerPoints. Okay, so I have been against PowerPoints for almost all my life. I have taught people how to use PowerPoint, but I do believe that PowerPoint makes people dumb and okay, because they're exposed to so much information for such a short time that it's humanly impossible, to catch up with that. And interestingly, much later, last year, actually, I read that Jeff Bezos has apparently stopped using, PowerPoint presentations in Amazon meetings. Okay. So anyway, that is about PowerPoint. Let's not waste time there. What we are going to do, me and Praveen, primarily going to try and have fun, basically. Okay. That is the idea. Yeah. And hopefully it's fun for you also, that's how it is. Yeah. So let me begin with this song from a very old movie called Sagina Mahto. The song was Sala Main to Sahab Ban Gaya. Sahab Ban Ke Kaisa Tan Gaya. Says, because you're at IRMAN Alumni Association talking about, yourself, your movies. So I'm curious, how did one of us, become a filmmaker? Because there are not too many filmmakers from IRMAN, I know. So how did you become a filmmaker? Just take us through your beginnings, not in a very conventional sense in terms of, your academic qualification, giving us your CV, so to say, but what were your, places where you grew up, what was happening to movies, how did you get exposed to movies? Just tell us about that.
Actually, sir, basically, I'm very, angry young man kind of a person, So since very beginning, in Madhya Pradesh, where I was always living in, I was born in Hoshangabad. Then my education was always in a smaller town because my father was a doctor. And then I went to college in Indore. And there I realized, by the time you start making your own opinions about everything, like about social system, about caste. And that time Madhya Pradesh was in 84, 85, 6, 87. It was not that too much of caste system, and which was not, going well with me, And then I tried my hands with the politics, a bit of it, in college and all. But I realized that this is not my cup of tea. Then how to
so speak you contested college level elections?
Yeah, yeah, I was a general secretary of FSI, Student Federation of something like that. And we got into a lot of problems also because of that. And then I realized, this is really, very difficult to swim. And then I joined the theater group, sir. Because
Oh,
that become my point of putting my opinions and my critical uh, views about everything. So we
so
were
how long
doing
did you work with them, the theater
for
group?
almost 5 years, 4 to 5 years in college days in Indore. And we had our own Kala Niketan. We had a Mohan Rakesh plays, and we had a Molière, Japa Sat, all classics. And because that time people were going only those kind of theaters, not you can write and create. But also I started writing a little bit poetry. We started our own magazine, a small cyclist styling, like
So do you remember any of your poems? Would you like to
very
quote it
difficult,
for
sir.
us?
Very difficult. But एक
Any
था
long poems?
बिकॉज आई वॉज ऑलवेज निराला जी से बहुत प्रभावित था मैं, बहुत निराला जी का बहुत अच्छा लगता था मुझे, तो वो एक फ्लेवर से लिखते थे हम। अभी तो है नहीं बहुत सारा suddenly, and but I always say that's why that may be the reason I really thought you would be the best to. No, of course anybody can curate the program on our group, but I think you as a poet, you would be more critical about the art. From there, I came to IRMA because I was with Medha Patkar for Narmada Bachao Andolan, and then IRMA में लेकिन वो एक वो ड्रीम था कि मुझे एक सिनेमा बनाना है, because by the time in Indore we came to know about Shyam Benegal Sahab and Ardha Satya and all that kind of cinema, which was is representing our thought basically. मुझे लगा ये सिनेमा तो बनाएंगे, और फिर ड्रिफ्टेड टू इरमा, और फिर इरमा में भी बैठ के लॉन में यही बातें होती थी कि मरने से पहले
Which
एक
dorm
तो
were you
जरूर
in?
नहीं।
Which
Pardon?
dorm? Which dorm? Which
बी
block?
बी बी ब्लॉक।
Mhm.
और बी ब्लॉक में थे, और फिर वो कई दोस्त अभी भी हैं बैच के जो याद करते हैं मुझे कि हाँ तुम बैठ के यही करते रहते थे कि यार एक दिन फिल्म तो बनाना है बस। मैथ्स
But
लॉन।
ek cheez bolo, in my time, which is roughly 5 years before you actually,
जी।
IRMA did not have a film club,
हम्म।
unlike many other campuses like I know of IIT Kanpur and other places. So, by your time, was there any film club in IRMA?
Yeah, we had one club and one VHS, and I think few friends were getting that
Okay.
video assets, and but those films were Amitabh Bachchan or maybe Mahesh Bhatt ka Road and all that. And it's a very interesting thing. I don't watch cinema, sir. In the whole of
How,
my life, I have seen around 74 films. Out of 74, 35, 36,
how
or
do you
maybe
keep
around
a
40.
count? Do you keep a diary?
Yeah, always add every year, whichever
Okay.
movie I watch. So my 76 or 77 is now. So out
Okay.
of that, 50% I saw in the in school time. After that, very few films.
So,
So I thought,
you talked about the Indian new wave kind of cinema, like you took the name of Benegal, you took the name of Ardha Satya and so on. So any other kind of early influences in terms of your movie watching? Out of these 76, you said half of them were in school. So what kind of movies would these be?
गुरुवार, I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Thursday, गुरुवार के दिन दूरदर्शन पे we used to have one
I know.
afternoon
That
slot
was
for regional
Bhaskar
cinema.
Ghosh's, huh?
Yeah,
Bhaskar
regional
Ghosh's
cinema.
initiative.
Yes, yes, yes. So that time I saw the Par, Gautam Ghosh Par, and then one was Mithul by a Kerala filmmaker.
That's right. That is Adur Gopalakrishnan.
Adur sir. Now
Yes.
I am a good friend. At least I can say I'm a good student of him. And another film was another which went to the Cannes from Karnataka, Kannada movie about a father waiting for the son who has been killed in a political this thing.
Oh,
I'm
that
just
was a Malayalam movie. That was a Malayalam movie by
uh, Saji and Karun's movie.
Shaji Karan's movie. That's
Yeah,
it.
Madhu was the actress, and like that. So these three films really, started, like kind of revolution, in thought process. Basically, uh, cinema making is very simple. The most important is how can you bring out your anger. Basically, any art form is an anger. What is we don't like, we speak about that. And cinema is the most, I think most influential among all these art form. Due respect with all the things, because it influences a lot of empathies, emotions, and also provoke to act. Cinema is that powerful. तो मुझे इन फिल्मों ने और बाहर इंटरनेशनली मेरा एक्सपोजर बिल्कुल नहीं था उस समय तक,
थोड़ा
इवन
आपको समय में आगे ले जाते हैं. You
जी
started as an angry young man. So in your middle age, how do you find yourself? Are you angry or are you kind of,
oh yeah,
not?
yes sir, very angry still I am, I can fight with anywhere. People say ki just keep quiet, otherwise you will be beaten somewhere someday. Whether
So
it uh,
interesting part is that most of us who at your age get angry become into very bad, whatever what the youngsters call uncles now. But you're channelizing it into more productive kind of things. So just give us some sense of what happened to you after you passed out of IRMA. So just to add one thing. So by my time, actually, I think my batch in 1988 was the first batch where they smuggled some private sector recruiters into the campus. So I remember it was chaps from Marico, and they came as somebody's guest, and people organized, whatever kind of pre-placement talk in the mess, actually for them, the common room near the mess. So by that time, obviously, private sector had started coming. But what were your career choices after IRMAN?
uh, I think I was the only one, if I remember very well, I was the only one who did not appear in our campus interview. Before that, I went to ORG
Okay,
through GBL Narasimha Rao, that
okay.
the politician now. And despite getting 2D
PL
in,
used to do in my days, he was a year senior to me.
yeah,
He
so
used to
somehow I
do
got
great
can't.
mimicry of NTR in those days. So suddenly,
Somehow I got in touch with him, and I applied and got into the job with ORG in Baroda, despite getting 2Ds. And the
oh,
person who interviewed me, he said, "Okay, join me." And then he saw, "Okay, Irma, so he must be a nice guy or maybe intelligent guy." And then he opened my that mark sheet, whatever, and he said, "Oh, you got 2Ds and you are here with statisticians and all. How will you manage it?" I said, "I'm good at reading the, between the lines or interfering, what do you call say,
interpretations, yeah.
meaning of the lines, but I'm not good at, mean mode and all that. That you will be giving me an assistant anyway." He said, "You are the least lowest one in the organization. You have to do yourself." But he got somehow interested, this, and then he said, "Okay, join." But I could survive only 3 months. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
And then what did you do?
Then I went back home and started my own frozen food factory. I started with all money and this and that. That Korean sirs, kind of influence, but not in a cooperative form, but in a private limited company. Got a lot of farmers and almost ran it for 4 5 years. We were exporting samosas and vegetables and to Europe and America, and suddenly Twin Tower happened, and
Oh, okay.
that really killed everything because frozen, you know how it is. Every day you have to burn something to keep everything cool. And then also I got little bit bored with that whole thing, 4 5 years doing the same thing. And then I decided, okay, let's do it. Enough is enough. Go to the Bombay. So we came to Mumbai then.
So I mean, just to rile you a bit, to kind of tease you a bit. So did you go to Bombay to become an actor because you could pass off as a good-looking chap? Okay.
Never, sir. I never had any dream to be an actor ever. Even on the theater, I was doing anything else but the acting.
So what
So
was the idea in Bombay? What would you have liked to do?
no,
Script writing, film writing?
first thing was to survive. Survival was very important because I came from shutting down the factory with financial problems and everything. So first thing was to survive here. So I had some connections where I was doing some trading, started trading from Madhya Pradesh. So then I said, okay, let's go. Namaz padna hai to masjid ke paas hi rehna padega. That kind of ideology, and then came here. Parallelly, I started writing a lot of screenplays and met many big, you know, like. Uh, like फिल्म स्टूडियोज,
Okay.
उस समय के जो यूटीवी थे या यश राज स्टूडियोज एंड ऑल, they were appreciating my stories but not ready to put the money, like that. Then I realized no, they will not do this kind of cinema because maybe my cinema was little bit ahead of time. My those stories are being I see most of the stories now happening every day here, what I was thinking 15 years back. So then it started like this and saved a little bit of money and then made first film.
So
And with
that is Barefoot to Goa
Barefoot
and
to Goa. And
got
with a lot of
released 2013, isn't it?
2013, yeah, it was in the festival started, and
And
with a
how
lot
many
of
years in
fun.
make?
Pardon, sir?
How many years in making? When did you begin with the movie?
We started write because I'm very fast in writing, so I think I wrote a screenplay within a month, somewhere in September, October of 12, and December we were shooting, and we got a lot of support from the people. Like somebody, we borrowed the camera, somebody gave us something. Post production was given, sponsored like that, because the story was very interesting. So people were getting influenced. It is okay, take the studio in the night. So we were working in the middle of a night in a free studio because we cannot afford in the daytime.
Oh,
And
okay.
then once the film was ready, and then we started sending to festivals, and then somebody gave the idea, why don't you release it? But I never had the money. And then the IRMA alumni and IRMA friends came in the picture, and we raised 50 lakh rupees as a crowdfunding. So we said it's a proud funding.
Oh,
A lot
okay.
of months through worldwide, almost we got money from 16 countries, 230, 40 people contributed the money, and then we could release the film.
So,
But
before we get on with the Barefoot to Goa, I was curious. So, you said you are a fast writer,
Ji.
and one question I would like to ask you. So, and I mean, last when we talked for this show, basically you were in a jungle. So, what is the kind of environment where you like to write? Okay, is there anything specific, that you need to have some things which kind of motivates you to write or something?
No, the first three films I wrote at home only, because there's no excuse. If you have to write it, you can write it anywhere, because at the end of the day we breathe, we eat, we sleep, we dream, everything we do at home. So why not writing also? But you know, in between, some disturbance happens in city. Sometime I really want to go out of the home, but in Mumbai it is not, for me it's not the environment which I like. So most of the time I remain in the home itself, or maybe in the office. In the home I remain 2 3 days, 5 days, 10 days without going even out of it, because there's nothing, the crowd all around. So फिर मुझे जंगल बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं, because maybe I was born in a jungle area and I travel and trek a lot in almost everywhere in the country. And the idea comes over there, when we are tracking alone, the idea comes, you think and you are in yourself. So maybe
Okay.
it is faster way of evolving the story rather than sitting home and
Second question which I had was that so without in some ways any formal training, but with a lot of preparation, definitely, you got into filmmaking, isn't
जी,
it?
yeah,
Now, part of what life story you told us that earlier also you were an entrepreneur, because you ran a business for 5 years, which takes something, and of course, it later ran into trouble because of the unexpected kind of happenings. So what gave you strength to decide, and tell us also about this stereotype of families in India where people want you to be going to a 9 to 5. So any struggles on the parent side? Beta ye kahan ja rahe ho,
uh, no, actually, my dad was very supportive all the time. When he was the first educated person in our family, rather than, I would say, we were having a lot of land, like 140 acres, but it's a dry area in Madhya Pradesh. So in fact, our grandparents were working in others' farm also sometime, and my father was very sharp in study, and he was supported by somebody else. Somebody else gave money to go and study in Nagpur in a medical college, like that. And then he knew, and when my whole family is full of doctors, engineers, now everywhere in the India that time, and now everywhere in the world. So when I said, I don't want to do anything, I will not do even engineering or medical. Then people asked it. That time somebody asked, in a like a marriage function, they sit and talk like this कि अच्छा मेरा बेटा ये कर रहा है, आपका ये कर रहा है ये. then से डॉक्टर साहब सब तो बड़े वो बन गए, प्रवीण क्या करेगा, कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. तो इधर बोलता है अभी बीए करेगा, फिर बोलता है कि नहीं अभी मुझे ये नहीं करना है. इंजीनियरिंग में एडमिशन होने के बाद घर आ जाता है, बोलता है मुझे नहीं पढ़ना है. तो ये कुछ भी करेगा ना, सबसे अच्छा करेगा. ये मोची भी बनेगा ना तो बहुत अच्छा मोची बनेगा. एंड दैट वाज द माय फादर्स वर्ड, आई स्टिल रिमेम्बर कि कुछ भी करना है ना, कोई फिक्स नहीं, जो भी करो अच्छा करो, put your best, that's it, nothing is bigger, nothing is smaller. So that was the kind of, psychological strength I got from my father. बाद में मुझे, आई रिमेम्बर एनएसडी से भी मुझे एक बार कॉल आया था इंटरव्यू के लिए, आ जाइए आप इधर नाटक थिएटर के लिए। तो सब लोग घर में बोले, मैंने एक्सेप्ट फादर, एवरीबॉडी सेइंग, अरे अब तुम सड़कों पे नौटंकी करोगे। वो बिकॉज उस समय तक वो क्या होता है, नुक्कड़ नाटक होता था, सफदर
Right.
हाशमी वाला, या सो फिर मैंने कहा ठीक है अभी पढ़ाई कर लेते हैं थोड़ा।
So coming back to Barefoot to Goa, out
जी
of all your movies, that is the only movie I have not seen yet. Okay, the feature films, that is. So what is it about? Can you in very short, can you just tell us what is it about?
So it's about two children who are living with parents in Mumbai, and their grandmother is living in Goa, which is, cancer patient, and parents are not taking care actually, ignoring the elders. So brother and sister, they get a letter from the grandmother, which is basically mute, but somebody else is writing the letter for her. And when the children get the letter, the brother and sister, which is around 7, 8, or 9 year old, they decide to go back and bring home the grandmother. So this is the journey again from their point of view, how the world is, and they travel to Goa to bring
So
mom.
that's very interesting, because out of your 4 films, 2 films are actually about children trying to do things,
Yeah.
isn't it? So the, you know, what is the Ladakh film's name? Wind is
Walking with the wind, sir.
Walking with the Wind, Walking with the Wind, and this one. So, have you ever thought about it? Why did you go to children? And let me give you a bit of context where I'm coming from. So, childhood is looked at as a kind of innocence. Okay. So I would give a movie. You don't watch movies, but there is an interesting movie called Badi Theke Paliye by Ritik Ghatak. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a child from somewhere in the suburb of Calcutta, runs away from home, comes to Calcutta, and what happens to him? So it's basically innocence, trying to go back to innocence. So how do you read your own, 2 movies out of 4? And I can go on even with the Kashmir movie, which is The Widow of Silence. Even their child has a very strong, independent presence, so to say. So how would you read it? This.
Uh, Actually, I feel every child has some kind of saying about everything in the society, but we don't allow them to speak. So I thought, why not look the things and the society and everything from their point of view, and probably that is where I'm attracted to those child artists, the plot. Like in Walking with the Wind, it's a big message is about, if you do a mistake, you have to correct yourself. So if an adult says this thing, probably we will lot of question a lot of things. But when a child does the same thing, we go with the empathy and we go with the not much of logic on that. So maybe it is more impactful way of telling the story when it is told by the children point of view, or maybe through a child, or maybe children. So that was the idea, because whatever I have seen in society, whenever a child speaks or starts saying anything, we said, keep quiet, you are a bacha. ना अभी तुम छोटे हो, तुम्हें नहीं मालूम. But I feel they are much smarter at every age, in our time also, this time also, maybe in future also. They have much more deeper social empathetic connection with the society, rather than, हम लोग एक बार मान लीजिए कोई एक beggar comes, हम बोलते हैं अच्छा दूर हट जाओ. एक बच्चे के पास यदि 1 रुपए होगा तो वो बिना सोचे समझे उसको दे देगा. This is my,
That's nice.
understanding and my experience with that. So somehow, and also I am a bit of a child, मैं angry भी हूँ, बच्चा भी हूँ.
So
तो
a follow-up question on that from the point of movie making,
जी.
typically people find working with children tough. Okay. A is because it's difficult to, in some ways, kind of, guide them, train them, and so on. Second is also if the movie making spreads over a time, children are in a growing stage, so you have continuity issues. So I'm sure in terms of continuity, you may not have faced a problem, because you did tell us about what is the period of your filmmaking. But if you're writing it in a month, I'm sure you also maybe making it also fast, once
Very
it
fast.
goes on, So what is typically the time which you take? A month, 2 months? I mean, how many days of shooting?
And till now, the maximum was 22 days for the Barefoot to Goa, and rest of the film 17 to 18 days.
So that's not an issue. Continuity is not an issue. But coming back to this children, and let me widen the question a bit, because many of your actors are basically common people, okay. They're not
Yeah.
professional actors. Okay. So how easy or difficult it is to work with children and common people as actors?
Yes, sir. This is the fear we always carry, that you should finish the film before they become disinterested in your movie. Because
Okay. Okay.
so by the time, like, I have seen in the Widow of Silence, the opening shot when the mother is tied with the chair, the same character is done by three different ladies in three different scenes. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
yeah, they refuse to act. No, this is not good, so I don't want to come. You cannot force them. So you become very smart to do some kind of improvisation with the other character. With the children, the most important thing is that we cannot force them to act. So rather than telling them what to do, I put them a wider perspective. Okay, this is the situation. Suppose your grandmother is living alone, your father is not taking care. The first thing, no, our father is very good. My grandmother is living with us. Then we create another situation. No. Suppose your mother is going away and your father is going to US, mother, something like that. And then how will you react? So we have to create a world in their imagination. Okay, this will be happening. If we say do this, probably it will never happen. It will happen, but it will be very, what you can say, artificial. It will not come from their heart. So I generally don't direct the actors. Rather, I just tell them what to do, irrespective of the age. And also I don't tell them what is going to happen day after tomorrow, what is in the screenplay. I don't share the screenplay also. So I had a lot of fight with this time in the Seema Vishwas, with the Seema Vishwas, when says, no, I cannot work like this. I said, this is the way I work. So what happens, they don't create their own imagination of what is going to happen next.
I'm happy that Seema didn't do to you what she could have done in Fool and Devi, actually. So
But very tough to work with her. Very tough. Everybody said, oh, you work with Seema ji and you, but I said, yes.
So, it's interesting that you talk about it. So, for the audience, basically, 3 movies which Praveen made. I have not seen the first one, but the next 2 movies, they're very realistic, kind of non-actors acting, kind of, he himself acknowledges influenced by Iranian cinema. In fact, the third movie is dedicated to Abbas Kiarostami. But the fourth movie is Sir, Madam, Sarpanch, that's what it is called, yeah. So fourth movie, there is a transition in terms of your own work, basically. One of them was that you have worked with a big name actor, for example, Seema Biswas and so on. So how did this transition kind of, what were the things which it created for you in terms of,
but the time is changing, sir. Earlier, every filmmaker has a particular style of filmmaking. So the moment you see the cinema, the moment you see the shots, you say, okay, this must be the director of the film. Like we can guess easily, like Bashu Bhattacharya or maybe any other filmmaker like that way. But now what is happening, cinema is changing very fast, throughout the world. So we have to invent ourselves in the storytelling language wise, maybe people expect okay, your way of telling the story will be this way, but the kind of camera you use, the kind of dialogue, the kind of actors, the pace, we are reinventing every time, to be with the present time. If we don't do it, probably yes, we might be outdated, or people will start telling that way. I'm not saying that we should leave the subject or core of the your filmmaking style. So this film was basically the experiment on that basis, that I have to do it.
so on
And I
that
was,
count, let me also go back to another question. So I like to watch the credits, of all the movies. Even in theaters, when they start pushing you out, actually, I like to watch credits because I think it's just our sense of respect to the
yeah.
cast and crew, basically. So I noticed most of your cast and I mean, not cast, but the crew members, for example, photographers and so on, in the second and third movie, Widow of Silence and Walking with the Wind, they are same kind of, people. Okay, uh, who are these people? I mean, I was just trying to understand the nature of your movie making. Do you have a fixed kind of set of people who you work with, or because movie industry is, like a project team, people come from various places.
So
So
in
what
last,
happened in your
yeah,
case?
yes, the last three film, the DOP is the same. The last two film, the editor is the same. Last four film, the production head is the same guy. Costume and art is the same. So mostly, I started with them without knowing much of cinema myself. So they were also when we started making first film Barefoot to Goa, nobody knew actually how to make a movie because
Oh,
nobody had worked on any project. They were fresh. Maybe somebody was. So I said, okay. And the beauty of that having freshers is that they don't question too much because I thought if I keep too much of experienced guys, they will be questioning, do this, and then I don't know the language. So I said, okay, let's have a fresh team so nobody questions me also that way. And we in a process we all become passionate about cinema and not much about the money. So the same team we are carrying every time. So maybe they are, and the DOP is from Iran. All three films
I
I become
wanted to ask you that, which are the other directors he has worked with?
uh, another one famous is Jafar Panahi's Close
Okay,
Curtain. He
okay.
shot Close Curtain, but somehow we become very friend, and also the way of thinking is the same. The way we look at the cinema, we look at the scene, look at the pace. The language of the cinema is more or less close to each other, thought process. So that is where very interested. Just now he left a film after shooting 7 days of around 90 days scheduled film. It's a multi-million dollar film, but he left because he could not manage, with the style of the director. So
So, so
that is,
yeah,
yeah.
that let me take it to some other question related to that. You talked about Jafar Panahi and you talked about your cinematographer being from Iran. And earlier in the conversation, we realized that the people you had seen were basically mostly uh, kind of, Indian art house cinema. Okay, the names which you took, Benegal and others. One major difference which I find between Iranian movies and this, that Iranian movies are at some level very personal movies.
Yeah.
And as opposed to that, Indian art house cinema was never a personal movie, except, I mean, maybe it's movies like Sparsh or Saransh or whatever, they were trying to make larger political statements, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in this backdrop curious about where did you first get exposed to Iranian cinema, and what did you like about that, okay. So that would be nice to know actually.
In 2003, in Mumbai Film Festival, when we had Benegal Saab as a chairman, I think that was the third year of the festival, Mami. I saw the film of Kiarostami, that was Wind Will Carry Us.
Okay.
It's a very simple film. A film, two, three engineers come to a village and they are, waiting to some lady to die so they can capture photographs or something like that. I saw the film twice, but I couldn't get anything out of it. Then, uh, then I saw the film again. Then I read articles by many critics worldwide, and then I realized that this was not a very simple film. It's a very philosophical film. Every action, every scene, every character, every movement of them, movement of theirs is saying something very deeper. And then from since then I started thinking like, okay, the cinema should be simple, but at the same time it should be very philosophical. It should be very political also, because nothing is, apolitical in this world. Whatever we say, whatever we do is a politics at, if you compare with certain things. So that is where I really found the second most important thing was that they were telling stories with common people, stories of the common people, not like any hero, superhero or something like that. And third, they are using the villagers or the actual people as a character in the film. So not very artificial. Most of the Iranian cinema of that time, they were using the real people. So all these things will make your cinema making very cost effective. So I adopted actually that model of cost effectiveness because I don't have much money backing of big houses. So If I adopt these things, probably I will be telling better stories in my own way, because in today's world, as on today, every year around 30,000 movies are being made around the world, and to get into the limelight, or maybe getting into the knowledge of the world film festival guys, or maybe having some kind of, you know, respect as a filmmaker, we have to have our own language of storytelling. Like every poet, every writer has its own way of putting the words. Similarly, you have to have your own language, own style, signature. It has to be authored. So I tried to do that, and luckily, people could recognize that. Okay, I have a different kind of cinema making style.
So that's interesting. So if for us you have to define your style, what are one or two or three markers which are there in all Praveen movies?
See, my films are, sir, without much of drama. Number one, you won't find much of a drama. Secondly, they flow like, observational point of view. If you watch, you feel you are there. You are sitting there and you are observing something happening. Like, uh, yesterday you said very rightly, like field work. We go there, sit quietly and observe what is people are doing, because you don't know, you don't fit into that. So when I go as a filmmaker, I just observe them, and then capture their life, whatever they are doing. And within that, I'm trying to make a story. These three things are very important. And certainly, like, very few people are not using background music in the film. In India or even abroad, there are hardly 5 or 7 filmmakers who are not using background music. So last film I really have to do, because the producer wanted, okay, no, we are releasing in cinema hall, so let's put it. So the international version has no music. The
I
behind
watched
me.
that. So I later on realized that Kailash Kher had sung a song, which I have
Yeah.
to find right now, where it
I
is.
really feel very odd, like somebody is emotional, then playing the violin behind that and making it more emotional. I find it is very artificial. So that those 3-4 things which are, making my cinema different than others film.
So one of the things which I especially noticed about your movie number 2 and 3 is the locale itself. That acts as a character in the movie. So for example, the hills of Kashmir, those long shots which you have. Then similarly Ladakh. So is it by design, or is it kind of it just happened?
No, sir, I treat my, like backdrop or background or location as a character. They are playing a very important role in the film itself. So when I get an idea and I start writing, and maybe when I finish the script, much before that, even the idea level, I and travel to the different places, and I see where I can set this story. That is very important. The moment idea came, within 3 days I was in Ladakh. And December first week, I got the idea. Within 7 days, I was in Ladakh, and temperature was minus 16, 17 in December mid. So like that. So I feel every story has a much different impact if you set in a different environment, different location. So I try to find the best. So like in Walking with the Wind, it becomes a hurdle. But at the same time, those mountains add a lot of character in the story without being said from my side as a director. So they are silent actors in the film. Location is the silent actor. Yeah, and certain issues, like suppose if you are talking about the half widows and the film is in Kashmir, we cannot set it in Madhya Pradesh anyway, no chance. So
So it
these
was
are the,
location shooting, is it? In Kashmir, was it location shooting, or was it some other
yeah.
part of India?
No, we shot in Dras,
Okay,
which was a part of Kashmir, but certainly could not go to Pulwama,
okay,
because we were warned not to go there and shoot. तो
sure.
ऐसे मिलता जुलता जो हमने लोकेशन था वहां पर शूट किया, बट
So,
स्टिल जी.
Praveen, just to, I'm sorry if I'm butting and you had just not completed. So, what I was saying, that you have very neatly said that there is a drashta bhav and there is a bhokta bhav. This is what you said. And you put yourself into, so there is this idea that you could be either the watcher, onlooker, or you could be the participant. So you said that your camera is the drashta. Okay? It's observational. That's what you put it.
Correct.
Now, from your movie 2 and 3, I actually appreciated the sense of gentle humor which was there, which was not really satire, but it was humor. So for example, in the first movie which I watched, the Widows of Silence, in that what happens that there is a taxi driver who keeps on making random comments, okay, and then his passengers. So that is a kind of counterfoil to a very serious narrative, which the main character is going through. Similarly, in actually the Walking with the Wind, there is a scene in which there is a motorcyclist who's going actually and whose motorcycle is kind of broken down and so on, and then this kid is walking and he said "Kahan se aa rahe ho," or something like that. So this kid actually makes him feel that it's a meaningless question, because he can see where is he coming from, kidhar ja rahe ho. So I mean, if he's faced one side, so I realized that actually for me, the third movie which I watched, which is Sir Madam, Sarpanch, which you say is a satire, it was something of you which was waiting to happen. Because we could see glimpses of humor, we could see glimpses of sarcasm also, or I don't like to use the word sarcasm. I use the word called vakrokti, because vakrokti in India has a much longer kind of tradition. So for me, it was just a progression which was waiting to happen. What would be your reaction to that?
Earlier two films, sir, because I wanted to make certain comments, so I knowingly created those characters, but I was lucky to have those kind of drive. In this case of driver, he was a real driver of the film. So this was his style of talking. Suppose even if you say, please get a cup of tea, जनाब आपके लिए तो मैं जहन्नुम से, या आप बोलेंगे तो श्रीनगर से चाय ले आऊंगा. Like poetic way of talking. I said, why not we use this gentleman and make him more impactful character, rather than making a plain, because we got a lively person like this. And as I said, satire was the main reason to use, so we can say bigger thing, which politely we can say without offending anything, because I know what kind of, but despite that, I had a lot of problem with the censor board. But you cannot say that. But anyway, I've handled that very well.
So let's censor ourselves. At that.
So I will tell you, because in third film, I really fought this last film, Sir Madam Sarpanch Behind Veils. This was real me, actually. This is the way I talk, sometimes very satirical, but not offending anybody. And when they say कि ऐसा क्यों बोला, तो मैंने कहाँ बोला, तो like censor board में हमें कहा गया कि आप ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते. In the Walking with the Widow of Silence में एक डायलॉग था कि मरने से पहले तुम अब प्रूव नहीं कर पाओगे कि तुम जिंदा हो.
That's right.
तो गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी स्ट्रांग. दिस वाज द वर्ड, गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी स्ट्रांग. तो मुझे सेंसर बोर्ड बोलता है कि नहीं, आप ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते कि गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी वीक, सॉरी स्ट्रांग. आई सेड ओके, 7 मेंबर्स. आई सेड ओके, आप बोलिए, मैं बोल देता गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी वीक. दिस इज ओके, आई विल चेंज. बोले नो, आप ऐसा भी नहीं बोल सकते. देन आई गॉट रियली इरिटेटेड. आई सेड देन व्हाट शुड आई से, गवर्नमेंट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, इज इट ओके? They said, no, you are offending us. And I said, so tell me, what should I say? If I cannot say this, then this or this, you tell me. Then they say, okay, you wait for 15 minutes. Then they said, nahi, yahi acha hai. Government is strong, is better than other two options. So
I think they use the word hukumat. Hukumat.
Hukumat bahut, yeah. So like, in this film, last film, we had a huge problem, but somehow I just managed to get the censor board a day before the release of the film. In fact, I left the studios from Delhi and came back when producer says nothing is happening. What will we do? Yeah.
So, I don't know whether this is a good question to ask or whether I'll walk into kind of painful memories. But how was the reception? Because I did not remember the movie getting released in Calcutta. Okay, if it were, I would have gone and watched it. Okay, so how was the
Yeah,
reception? Did it make money?
very difficult to release an independent film, but we could manage around 40 cities, 120 theaters, 180 shows, which is nothing. Number
Okay,
one. Number two, because the producer wanted, we will put it into theater irrespective. Because I was lucky when he came to me, I said, no, this is the subject. You might not get a censor at all because this is a political satire. And also, at the same time, we are talking about the women's empowerment, like Sarpanch Pati. Nowadays, it is very common that women are Sarpanch, but the
I know.
husband acts like a Pati, Sarpanch.
And we'll
So
assume
because
that our audience also knows, given that they passed out of Institute of Rural
yeah,
Management.
yeah.
Assume that.
So as a clear-cut comment on the system we work in village level. And I said, very difficult looking at the scenario. We might be losing complete money. He said, okay, I don't worry, but we want to make a good film. He's from US. The producer is from US. He said, I really want to make a good film. And let's see what happens. No problem. So he never interfered anything, कि क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या नहीं कर रहे हैं, क्या है. But I told him, this is the screenplay we want to do. Yes, it could not manage much money, but now the film will be shown across Amazon in 170 countries except India.
Oh, okay. Why not
That's
India?
again problem because Amazon, Netflix, everybody said sorry, we cannot deal with this kind of subject. So probably after a month it will be everywhere in the world, but here, not here.
So all the best for the movie. Let me come to the last question, which I wanted to, because we have talked about you, we talked about your cinema. Any kind of, message to young, I don't see too many young people, but whoever people who may watch it in the future, from IRMA or, from other places who are trying to get, unconventional, have gone into.
Sir, I cannot hear you.
You can't hear?
I cannot hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you
Yes,
just
yes.
broke up for 2 seconds, like
Okay,
Oh,
now it's okay.
repeat, yeah.
It's okay.
Okay. So I'm just asking that any kind of advice for people who are trying to get into unconventional careers, okay. People from IRMA, from outside, what they should look for, what they should not look for. So this time you could be very precise and PowerPointish, 3 points to look for, okay.
I think cinema is all about, sir, storytelling and vision. If you have something to say, it is not a place to come for glamour or name or fame or something. Most of the people come. I'm not saying the Irmans about, but 99% people I meet in this industry, they are here for some wrong reasons rather than the creating some kind of uh, storytelling and impact on the society, or may not be so impact on the society, but at least dedicated their life towards the cause. Secondly, I think the most easy way is to when I was not able to make any film, then I started telling people that I'm shooting a film. I
Okay.
started without knowing anything, no money, no screenplay. I said, okay, I've already started shooting, and maybe after 1 year I will be with the film. And after 6 months, the people, the next time if I'm meeting in somewhere, they say, "Acha, kya hua tumhare film ka?" Oh, yes, yes, it's in production. Now the days, and it is, like it really worked for me. Then I said, no, I have to make a movie because I have told everybody that I'm making a movie. And before making a movie, I started keeping a card which says filmmaker. So whenever I see I'm a filmmaker, so I started believing myself, okay, I can make movies. So those very unconventional way of things, but what I really feel and really want to share that anybody who wants to become a filmmaker or maybe anything which is unconventional should have a one stream of income, somewhere. He should work 8 hours to earn money. So you don't compromise on your principles. You don't end up making anything which you don't like. So I rejected many
Thanks
offers.
for reminding that. So in your case, what was that day job, which gave you this sustenance?
Sir, when I came Bombay, I did a lot of some trading, import, export. Then I went into the biotechnology, and then biotechnology. Yes, still I'm having a little bit of that because I'm not able to give the work. But that time I really was, in dairy and agriculture sector, half of the time traveling and making money, also bit of for saving and bit of for, sustain ourselves. And that where I can, since then, initial days, people say, okay, this is the story, you make the film. But I said, I will not make it, I will not change even in my script, they used to say, कि, अच्छा, हम बड़ा actor ले आते हैं, तुम ये कर लो. I said, I will not do it because I was not under pressure of any, bread and butter, or my dependency was not on them actually.
Mhm, mhm.
So that is very important, to say something, you have to be very independent in your way of doing things and way of doing. Now I can afford to dictate, okay, even you have to pay me this much money and I will make this kind of cinema only. If you want, fine, otherwise, sorry. So that is the thing. I mean, most of the people come with ideas and a lot of energy and end up making cinema, which, just get lost in 3 days.
Sure. So wish you all the best with that, finding
Thank you.
your own voice and continuing with it. I like to open it for audience questions. I can see there were some very enthusiastic comments which people had made earlier. So, for example, Prashant said 1970s saw a clear divide between commercial and new wave parallel cinema. Later on, they converged and we got quite a few gems. Where is this now and where do you feel it's going? So, Prashant, I think if you have another question, you can ask him because he anyway says he didn't watch too many movies. He basically does things by making his own movies. His statements are making his own movies. And then Manish Chandra has been very effusive in his praise, actually. He says Praveen has the skill to freeze the moment for the audience, to stare at it in different ways. It is the peripheral themes in the movie which are more interesting than the central theme sometimes, unique for me with limited exposure. And of course, he is lamenting why there is. But let me pick on Manish's idea actually. So if I go back to literature, your movies are more like what is called an upanyas rather than a laghu katha, or katha actually. Because katha or a story, short story, what it is called in English, they center around one central character. But in your, movies, for example, if I take Walking with the Wind, the focus is on the child, and his quest to kind of, get the chair repaired. But there are a whole lot of other things happening to a whole lot of other people. So how did that happen? How did this, what, Manish says that peripheral themes started becoming important here?
So the important thing, sir, when I start thinking about a subject, I don't want to give you a direction to look at the things. I as a filmmaker or as a film, uh, to the audience, I don't want you to see certain theme. Okay, this is me, you look at it. So that's why most of the time my camera is also observational. The things are happening at their own pace. The characters are having different kind of roles, and there is a whole lot of environment. So the audience can take many different aspects of the that story. Whatever they can connect, they can take. So when 100 people are watching my film, I believe they at least watch 50 films, different 50 films. A different 50 things are happening. Rather than, as a director, I cut close, then I go back to, I say, okay, because the camera is the eye and the mind of the director. So if I move too much camera and focus on certain things, you will watch and you will look at that only. So uh, it may be it's not a very designed way of saying the story, but I think this is the way I want to see the film. I see cinema as a life myself, because it influences me a lot. So I want to show a canvas, like a big canvas of a painter, where there are many things are happening, and you find whatever interests you in that.
So
So
now, I suddenly remembered that, the lady who introduced us, she said that I'm a self-confessed, movie buff. So I thought I was just movie buff, but she thought I was a self-confessed movie buff. So let me ask you a movie buff question. Okay. So this Walking with the Wind actually is dedicated to Kiarostami.
yeah.
And there is a Japanese tourist who comes in the movie. And she also is reading a book, which is the cover has Kiarostami. So what did this tribute to Kiarostami mean? And let me also point out, I don't know if you saw, Kiarostami made a movie in Japan with Japanese actors. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. So
No.
what was this whole kind of, coded but love for Kiarostami? What were you trying to do actually? Okay. What did Kiarostami mean to you?
Uh, I saw his only 3, 4 films. I think Kiarostami's 4 or 5, not all the films, but on a different festivals. If some retrospective is happening, then I really like to watch on big screen. So after watching his film in 2011 or 12, or maybe later actually, after making the Walking with the Wind, uh, I went to meet the DOP of the Wind Will Carry Us in Iran. He's a famous. His movies have won actually later on Oscars also. So I went to meet him and Kiarostami as well, but uh, by misfortune or something like that, I could not meet Kiarostami because he was in the jungle and doing some photography. And my tickets were booked, and I came back a day before he came back to Tehran. But when we were shooting this film, my daughter was carrying this book. The
Oh, okay.
What happened? 3rd of July, August, July. I think 3rd of July, we started shooting, if I remember well, and there was no signal. There was no mobile signal. So what we used to do, we used to go to some 13 kilometers away from a mountain top, and then everybody used to go and open their mobile and see the message and all what is happening in the world. So after 4 or 5 days, we went over there. Then the DOP got a message from Iran that Kiarostami is no more, and he
Oh,
was crying whole day. We got the message around 11 o'clock, and he was crying. And of course, it was very sad for me also, and everybody who knew him. So we decided not to shoot that day, and luckily we had that book. And then I wrote in the night that scene that we will put this book in the hand of the lady, number one. So that is one, like cinematic immortals. We create one scene which remains forever. And second one, that scene I wrote immediately that she's uh, climbing up and giving a, like he was a great filmmaker, like one dialogue about him. So that was a small tribute from our side when we came to know that he is no more. So those 2, 3 scenes were immediately or instantly created and incorporated in the film.
good. So any audience questions? Okay.
Yeah, I think Manish has put in the last question about how to watch your last movie, and I would just extend it saying that, if we can, if you could share the links or if they're available on YouTube or Prime Video or wherever with us, and maybe we can circulate it along with the recording of this chat.
The last film that is, I can give you all 3 earlier films. You
Yeah.
know, till Walking with the Wind, Behind Whales. Sorry, Walking with the Wind, Widow of Silence, and Barefoot to Go. I can give because those are I have control. But the latest film is like produced by somebody else, and too difficult to share a film which is they are dealing right now with the commercial level to release across the world.
I know. I know.
Probably that will be very unfair. I trust everybody, but still it will be very unfair to share the film. But yes, 3 films, my 3 films. In fact, the Walking with the Wind is also not mine, but the producer has said you can give it to anybody whosoever wants it. I will share all those things.
Yeah, thank you. And since we are right on time, thank you very much, Praveen and Professor Jha for this engaging session. And I think we had a good number of people attending. Anyways, the session is recorded, and we will be circulating the link very soon. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Have a
before you
good
go
rest.
away, I had a curiosity question.
Yes. So.
So, where did you figure out I was a professor? Because I never introduced myself as a professor.
I'm sorry, sir. I got the introduction as Professor Vidyanand Jha. Sorry if I was incorrect.
No, you're right, but
Yeah.
the introduction which I sent was not that. So
Okay, yeah.
No,
thanks.
just 1 minute. I think Professor, everybody knows you,
Okay.
Irman. So I think you cannot hide your identity that way.
We
Praveenji, I
can,
was just saying, whenever the movie is available, you can let us know, and on payable basis only,
Yes,
not
correct. Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
yes, if it is, if it is released everywhere in the world, but India will, block the IP. Nowadays, IT has become very difficult. You cannot watch the film if it is released worldwide and not in India.
That's
So
right.
sure, I will try to. Maybe I'll have a screening in,
Yeah, for people
in
who are outside of India, we can
India.
see.
Of course, they can watch anywhere. Maybe after 1 month, they can watch anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think I can say Professor Jha is our Amitabh Bachchan of IRMA community. Like everybody knows him. And thank you very much, IRMA Alumni Association and everybody to, invite me here. And thanks, Professor, for it's a wonderful discussion.
It was a very rewarding experience for me. Thank you. I mean, it was like a home task that I watched your movies, and I'm glad that I did it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.